Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
I want to welcome from my left and go around the bend here. We'll go clockwise here. Mary Theuerkauf, she is a specialist at Erie High. Mary?
Nope.
No, where are you at now?
No, I'm at Mother Teresa Academy doing school-wide title.
Okay. And also the head of the EEA.
President of the Erie Education Association.
There you go. Awesome. And next to Mary is Marcus Schlegel. He is the PSEA Regional Field Director. Hey, Marcus. Welcome. We've got Jill Nolan. She's a speech and language pathologist working multiple buildings in the district. Hi, Jill. We've got Carrie Rugh-Grove. She's from Strong Vincent Middle School doing 7th and 8th grade instructional support. Kathrine Mulokey, she is the a special ed teacher, 6th and 8th grade at East Middle School. And finally, Jessica Quadri, also at East, 6th and 7th special ed. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you being here on the program.
Thanks for having us.
You got it. All right. I'm going to bring everybody needs to get close to the mic when we chat. Okay. So, Mary, if you would. The last time we had a chat with the EEA, it was after a pretty horrible event, the shooting at Erie High, and we established that there was some definite culture things going on there with mutual respect, and who needs a kid shouting expletives at a teacher? Have you seen movement? Have we grown from that experience of 2 years ago?
Yes.
Good.
I would say that the district's response was to our negotiations with regards to returning back to work were taken very seriously, and I think that they responded well and listened to our concerns. Are there still holes? There will always be.
Right.
Kids are very clever when they, you shut down one door, they find the back door to get in. Right. So even though you have your internet block, and all of these things, the kids will find a back door in, and but that's what a kid does. Right.
I think the greater concern was building culture, yes. Right? And I want to kind of start with that with all of our instructors here in the district here, because let's say you guys all worked at a plant somewhere. Maybe you worked for one of the plastics plants out in the West County or something like that. Even in that setting, you want a work culture that is uplifting and encouraging. Now take that to another level where you say, you know what, we're educating children, we're setting them on the right path. We've got to have good work culture. So I'm going to start with you, Jill. Talk about what is your take on culture in what in where you're working, and what are some of the things that are great that you really appreciate, and what are some of the things that you wish could be worked on, I guess?
Well, I'd like to start off saying this is my 28th year in Pennsylvania's public schools. I have worked in a bunch of different positions, to include a reading recovery teacher, a reading resource teacher, a speech language pathologist, and an assistive technology consultant. What I have really enjoyed about working in Pennsylvania schools is the camaraderie between all of my colleagues that I've worked over the years to do our very best to promote a safe, sound, and learning culture in our schools. It's very rewarding to see parents involved, and our children make growth, and we do it as a team through collaboration and hard work to make sure that our future generation, not only in our county and in our city, but as a nation. I have taken great pride to be an educator, because as you know, our past leaders have once said on the national level that in most cultures, teachers are seen as nation builders. And I take that very seriously, that every day I get up, I get to go to work, and I get to create and strengthen our city, our community, and essentially our country. So that has been a real refreshing and positive experience for me to be a part of that team building our community. What I would like to see different, and what I would like to see for the future of public education, is to have our legislators to really understand and take hold of the importance of our profession, and value it not only in the rhetoric that they speak across our country at all different levels of government, but also by putting where their money where their mouth is, saying this is a valued profession, and if we want to recruit and retain professionals that are going to dedicate their career to spending time with our children that will be our future, we have to provide salaries and benefits that are commensurable with their education and their dedication to the profession and our communities.
Yeah, you have a lot of, advanced degrees represented here,
right,
and so on. So how do you match that with professionalism? I'm going to jump over to Kathrine Mulokey, because the mic is right there. Kathrine, talk about culture. How important is it to have a uplifting and mutual respect environment over at East there?
Yeah. So I definitely think East has like a pretty good work culture. I was genuinely surprised when I came last year. I mean, I'm from out of state and everything, and very quickly my friends at East became like family. Mm-hmm. I've worked with Quadri here for 2 years, and we're very close, and a lot of my colleagues, I can go to them and I can talk about a problem and we'll find solutions together. It won't just be sitting and complaining. It's, constantly problem solving. And I find that to be so positive in the school environment, because so much can happen in a day that it can feel super overwhelming. But being able to go and talk with my colleagues and my friends about what's going on and how I can better approach it and how I can better improve really helps make me better as a teacher every single day. We're so close at East. Everybody knows everyone, even if you're, self-contained to 8th grade. I was a self-contained teacher last year, so I didn't really have a team to work on. So the school became my team. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew who I was, and everyone knew the kids that I was working with. And so everybody kind of helped me out. And I really appreciate that culture, especially in today's schools.
Jessica, weigh in while we've got you over there. Again, you're from East as well. Talk about, again, how the children can be positive contributors to that positive school culture.
So this year especially, I know I'm in 6th grade, and I was in 8th grade last year, and there's like a big age gap with there.
Sure.
But I can tell with the kids that we work with every day, like some of them are very excited and willing to learn new things. They want to know stuff they've maybe never read before or they've never seen. And they come to us as teachers and as adults and role models to not only know that they can come to us for that knowledge, but also they can trust us. There are kids every morning who come and they know that their teachers care. They'll come to me for snacks in the morning. They'll come to me just because they trust me to talk about stuff going on in their lives. And that's what's making the big difference. That's what creates the family feeling in a school where we all are working together for the same purpose. And that's, I'm working to teach you and you're here to learn from me. And we learn from each other. Like school, even as a teacher, I've only been teaching in the Erie School District for the last 3 years, but I learn a new thing every day, not just from my colleagues, but from my students. Sure. And those things in perspective have helped me become a better teacher, but also become a better colleague, become a better team worker, and that's what education is.
Carrie, jump in on this. Does what Jessica and Kathrine saying resonate with what you're dealing with over at Strong Vincent there?
It does. Coming from a school district previous to this, that coming in, I was very welcomed. I can go to my colleagues as well, talk to them pretty much about anything and everything, and they became my second family outside of my immediate family.
That's cool. Let's come back over to Mary here. Mary, I mean, you're hearing your colleagues.
Very proudly.
Well, absolutely, and so
say.
when we're talking about obviously administration is hearing from these teachers and saying, you know what, we want to make sure that we take uncertainty out of the equation, and so you were able to negotiate a new contract. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Contract extension, I should say, right?
Yes. We just negotiated an early bird with the school board where they put teachers received a 9.97% increase in salary across the board. So
was that a 3-year extension or
2?
2 years?
I believe it was 2, 2028.
Mm-hmm.
So we bumped it 2 years down. And again, contract negotiations are, when you sit down to do a whole contract negotiation, it is a very large process. I mean, of course, you pick out, as opposed to when you do an early bird, you pick a few items and then you concentrate on those. But when I ran for president, one of my goals was to keep insurance the same, get as much money, of course, as we can, and maintain our benefits and the integrity of our contract.
I'm interested because at one point, didn't you guys take some
2 years pay freeze?
Right, because the district was in a world of hurt. But now the financial stability of the district has been confirmed. Is it time to kind of say, hey, let's take care of our teachers, right? I mean, do you feel like that was the district's approach?
It might have been.
Yeah.
But I also believe that Mr. Polito wanted, because he is literally, the driving force behind our financial recovery. I mean, we're out of financial watch. We have a surplus of money. I mean, who has that? But because of all of those things, I think that he wanted to kind of make sure that when he did leave, that we would be, having a competitive salary, not being poached by every other district for, teachers, to secure everybody here. Yeah. I mean, I really believe that he's, committed to that.
Yeah, he's kind of leaving the district solid. both
exactly.
with the fiscal plants and with the educational staff and all the ancillary stuff. It's a good move if you ask me. We're talking education. We have members of the Erie Education Association, educators and teachers from across the district, and also with us from the Pennsylvania State Education Association, the regional field director, Marcus Schlegel. Marcus, I want to ask you, because this is something I'm asking a lot of the legislators from Erie County that I'm interviewing for re-election or people that want to get these jobs. And, we have this situation where we're spending more on K-12 money, more on K-12 basic ed than ever before. Josh Shapiro's, the governor, is making sure that happens. Yet we still are lagging on some of our educational indicators. What do you think is the X factor for making Pennsylvania competitive to meeting, those basic and advanced proficiencies, yet making it affordable for these districts? And what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, there's so many aspects to it, Joel, and I think where we begin, the linchpin to it all is the home. If parents invest in their children's education, if they read to them at home as much as possible when they're young, if they prepare them to want to go to school and to learn how to be respectful towards their teachers, towards their peers. So that's where everything begins. Now, when we get into the nuts and bolts, so we begin with the fact that by the Pennsylvania Constitution, the state is supposed to provide 50% of the funding for public schools, which it never has. We are getting closer to that mark thanks to the investments that Governor Shapiro and the legislature made, and absolutely, we are very fortunate here in Erie to have legislators who understand the value of public education, because how does it work? You need an educated workforce, you need responsible citizens, you need good schools for good property values. All of these things are interconnected. So we've seen the investment increase, so we're getting closer to that kind of 50-50 parity between the state and the local districts, which affects everybody. And it affects our small rural school districts as much as our large urban school districts, and those are things to remember. As far as, continuing to take the right steps to make Pennsylvania public education and our schools as great as they can be, we see one of the biggest hurdles is finally being addressed, and that is the student-teacher stipend. Because I don't think a lot of people realize.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if a lot of people realize, but when you make that decision as a young person entering college, and certainly we have folks here who can speak to that experience as well, and you have to do your student teaching at the end of all of that schooling, you are prohibited from having employment, and you do not get paid for your student teaching. So that's 12 weeks where you have you're already a broke college kid to begin with. You're already staring at a mountain of student loan debt. And on top of it, heretofore, it was, and then take a couple months and go do student teaching. We're not going to pay you, though. So thankfully, Pennsylvania has remedied that. Student teachers will get a $10,000 stipend to be able to support themselves while they're, working to enter the teaching profession. And, why that's so crucial, when we hear things about the teacher shortage, that's a very real thing. In the last decade, we saw a 65% decline in teaching certificates being issued in Pennsylvania. That is nearly 10,000 teachers who were going into the workforce who were no longer going into the workforce. And at a time when we could least afford that, because we had so many people following the pandemic who said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm burned out. I've experienced deaths in the family, constant illness, being overworked because there simply weren't enough substitutes. There weren't enough support staff. So I think that the support for public schools in Pennsylvania under Governor Shapiro and under the legislators, and especially our legislators here in Erie, came at a critical time. And I'm optimistic that we'll be able, again, it takes the whole village, the whole culture. I'm optimistic that we're going to continue making strides, and that's another factor in it all. If we're going to talk about test scores, if we're going to talk about performance, we can't talk about that in a vacuum either.
Right.
Because those kids who came through that pandemic experience, they experienced setbacks and difficulties that prior generations hadn't.
No.
So we're dealing with a lot of uncharted territory. Our people are working very hard to, make up a lot of what was lost due to compromised instruction during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But again, I think we're taking the right steps with the help of the governor, with the help of the legislature, and mostly importantly, with the help of our people in the classrooms. And if we can do that, be supported by administration, like our people in Erie are, being supported by a very pro-public education school board, and then if the parents do their part, I think we have a bright future.
I appreciate that, Marcus. I've got like 2 minutes. I want one of our young teachers to weigh in on this about support while you are getting your schooling, your student teaching, and getting ready for praxis or whatever boards that you have to take. Go ahead. You look like you want to talk, Kathrine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when I got my degree in Virginia. However, I was in grad school. I was working 3 jobs in order to afford to live, because in grad school you don't have on-campus housing. Mm-hmm. I was constantly asking my parents for financial help. And when it came time to do my student teaching, I had to quit my other jobs because student teaching is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
And it's 3 months of working full-time, and I had to take a job at a location that wasn't a great fit for me personally, just so that I could get paid to do that student teaching. And, I think it's amazing that Pennsylvania, I would have moved to Pennsylvania had this happened years ago,
Right.
in order to get the support that you need through that student teaching, and also to help you get jump started in your career. If you have that security, you're going to be more willing to come back in the future, and it's making teaching more attractive to college students now, I think. So
raise your hands if you feel like you could have used a lot more support while you were, they call them a cadet or whatever, right? They used to call them that, right? Yes. When you were either at Edinburgh or at another teaching college and doing your student teaching, raise your hand if you could have used some more support. Okay, it's unanimous. And again, I have educators in my family. It's obvious that it's absolutely a situation where. You almost have to treat it like a trade, like an apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. And what do apprentices get? They get paid while they're learning.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. Great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA 039007.
Well, we off the mic, we were talking about, parent involvement, and it really starts. Mary, let's talk about this. It really starts when they're tiny little babies, reading to them. I mean, having a book a night is the thing. This is what's the beauty of the United Way and the Imagination Library. Like, books are free every month. You just have to take advantage of it, right? I mean,
right, and we do a lot with literacy, and a prime example of that is we're getting ready to do a parent involvement where I'm working, where we bring parents in and we give them literature on the importance of reading to your children at night, how to select a book, the sight words. I mean, these are all the things that the kids need to pick up some of this in order to catch up with the peers that they may not be, that may be accelerating faster.
Right.
So to keep everybody kind of just going in that forward motion, and then getting the parents involved in, actually pushing that literature even out to other family members, is one of the goals of this particular event. So, and admittedly, we have probably a higher, we have a smaller population of students, but we have a good number of parents that have RSVP'd, whereas I can remember,
right.
I'm not going to do that, I apologize, I pinged. I remember being at Piper Burley 15 years ago, and we had a parent involvement, and 2 parents showed up, and we had this beautiful breakfast. You know, so all the staff got, you know, food, but, you know, it was years ago, and it was at a time where, you know, we actually kind of need to pull people back into that. Yeah. So that's where, you know, these have kind of launched.
Yeah, the parent involvement.
And we have community service, community organizations now that partner with us that also help facilitate that.
Jill, I want you to weigh in on, you know, you're in multiple buildings. You have the community schools there. Do you see that is a good bridge to the parents and getting more parental involvement, both in the building, but also being able to provide support so that parents can understand how much of a role they have with their kids' education?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having a structured program as our community partner schools, bringing parents in firsthand to not only meet some basic needs, breakfast bags, over the weekend bags, clothes during the winter months, but also for those educational resources such as parent involvement nights and community events. It's a very important message that the Erie Public Schools have done to have a partnership like this, to bridge that partnership, that parents are such an important partnership with the schools. Teachers and parents are partners. We're there to work together for our children. And by having that partnership in a formal way, it just solidifies the message that we are partners. Our community, our parents, our teachers, we need to work together as a team.
Yeah. Carrie, I want you to weigh in because one of the concerns that we're hearing, again, a national narrative out there, is that teaching is so tough these days. Somebody fresh out of school goes a year or two and then bails and says, I'm not going to stay with the profession. Have you seen that in your experience, and what keeps you from getting up and going and being the stellar teacher that you are every day?
I have seen it, not in our district particularly, but it is tough. Behaviors are a big issue and concern for most teachers. But for me personally, I'm there for the kids. I'm there to be their person that if they need someone and they don't have someone at home, I'm there. My goal is to help them learn, to grow as a person, and be as successful as possible.
Yeah. How about you, Jessica? You want to weigh in on this? Have you heard that narrative, and what's your thoughts about all that?
Everyone's heard that. I remember when I was in school, that was one of the things my parents kept saying, like, are you sure you want to go into education? And I've always been very, like, I love children. I like working with them. I've worked in daycares. I've worked in summer camps. I'm a teacher. It's what I love. It's what I do. I like being there and knowing that some of these kids show up every single day for us. They come to see us and they want to learn. Yeah. They're here in schools and they take that opportunity every day, even if it's just to make a quick connection with, their favorite teacher, or just to have like that. Those are the moments that matter. And that's what keeps me going every day. Did you go to school here in Pennsylvania? Yes, I went to the Erie City Schools myself.
And where'd you get your undergrad?
From Penn West, Edinburgh.
Okay.
It was Edinburgh University.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm just interested because, again, just like Marcus was saying, our applications at our teaching colleges have fallen off of a cliff. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that 16-year-old young woman or young man that's like, geez, should I do this? Is it worth the squeeze?
I would say just keep following your dreams. I mean, I had that thought every once in a while when I was an undergrad.
But you wanted to be a teacher since you were a little girl.
I wanted to be that teacher, and I've always, but at the end of the day, I have to remind myself, yes, we have other adults that we work with every day, and we have people we have to go to in terms of things, but I'm there for the kids.
Yeah.
They're there for me. So at the end of the day, it's my relationship that I have with those are the kids that like look up to me and they look up to the rest of us and they know that we're there, that makes teaching every single day worth it.
Mary, I want you to weigh in on this too, because as the kind of the, trying to, encourage the members of the association. Let's face it, there are many teachers that are towards the end of their career, right? I mean, not everybody's going to grind it out to 65.
Or even 63.
Or even 63.
Right.
And it concerns me that maybe we're going to hit a, we talk about the demographic cliff in higher ed, where there's a lot less students, period. The populations have dropped off, but we're going to hit a demographic cliff in education workers, in teachers. We probably have already hit it because of the pandemic. And my concern is that, is there a place where Erie just can't recruit enough teachers, period? Which is like, isn't that mind-boggling to you, considering it was just 5 to 10 years ago where if you graduated from Edinburgh like Jessica did, you couldn't even get a gig in Erie County. You had to go to North Carolina or Virginia and get a couple of years under your belt before you can start pinging back districts up here. Yep. And now that whole script is flipped. All right, so that's a big, long question of what are we going to do about this cliff? Yeah. Yes. What are we going to do about this cliff of retirements?
Well, I put out a survey last year at the beginning of the year, and we had, which probably was another segue into the early bird negotiations that we did. We had 350 teachers that were leaving the district within the next 5 years. And if we don't have any teachers enrolled in schools, who's going to take that place?
Right.
And right now, because of the shortage, we're bringing in a lot of, I don't want professionals that don't have, that are emergency certified or emergency permitted to.
Do we know what kind of percentage that is in the Erie district? I mean, is it low single digits? Is it high single digits?
I won't even.
Okay.
I won't even guess. I have asked, and I have had that answered before.
Okay.
But off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
All right. We can ask the district that,
right?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to teach if I had like 2 minutes to do it, but I can't. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where does the paradigm change? And honestly, I'd like you guys to weigh in on this. I mean, y'all went through the grind of learning your subject matter. Is it really fair for somebody off the street that might be I don't know if anybody could ever replace you, but I'm just thinking of a special ed, somebody that that might have some counseling or psych degree coming in and trying to be a special ed teacher. How would that work?
I think with special education, it gets difficult because of the legalities of the job.
Right. And there's federal money that's following all that.
Yeah,
right.
correct.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to have someone who hasn't been through special education courses. And I mean, if someone has a background in psychology, then they understand a lot of what we're teaching because they know about intellectual disabilities. They know about some of the emotional disorders and that kind of stuff that could be causing a kid to be in special education, but they don't understand the legalities of IEPs, of progress monitoring, of FAPE, of, the LRE, like all those kinds of things.
Sure.
I mean, if you don't know that, then you don't understand how to deal with the child in the classroom.
So it's more of like the retired engineer from GE becoming a math teacher kind of thing, right? Is that what we're talking about? That they could use? I mean, who are the types of folks that are getting these emergency certs?
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't do any interviewing for that.
Okay.
I don't on board. So I couldn't.
But the concern is there. You said you identified 350-ish.
Yes.
Folks that are fixing to leave.
Right. But I have another goal for the early bird was to see if we couldn't keep some of those professionals from just kind of going at 55, have them, stay a few more years to, increase
So
their...
55 is kind of considered
55
retirement.
and 25, you get to retire with insurance.
Okay.
And you get your sick time. So you get your sick days.
What does
paid
a
out.
teacher do at 57 and retired?
Substitute teach.
Okay, so you go back. You go back for less pay. Okay.
Well, I mean, but you know what? Now, again, the state has made it very easy for teachers to come back. They're not penalized.
Okay.
They can make as much money as they want doing this education gig, and they keep their.
I mean, you think
pension
about
benefits,
it. That's
so-
12 years before you could be fully vested in your Social Security that you would be retired, right? I mean, that's a long time,
right?
I guess you can have a second career, but
Well, the change in dynamics with the economy, and
Right.
everything going.
all right, so did that, with everything going expensive, did some teachers come back then after maybe a short stay
I don't have
away?
that stat, but I'll ask tomorrow for it.
Well, I mean, your lived experience is, hey, you're back. I don't know.
One.
Okay.
Well,
you can
maybe
think of
two,
one.
but I'm hoping for more.
So we can establish from this early bird contract that it really makes it easier for Erie to have retention and stay competitive against the suburban districts that might be poaching, like you call it.
It is poaching.
It is poaching. But the other level is like what we started with, which is school culture, school environment. Again, I mentioned that my two of my kids went to collegiate, and one of the things I think that works there that I think could be a universal value is pride, honor, respect. That basically mutual respect from students to teachers, teachers to students, administrators to teachers and students. Weigh in on that. Who wants to jump in on that? And are you seeing an increase of that kind of environment in your districts, in your schools, in your buildings?
I definitely think there's an effort, and I think that we're coming a long way, especially in their school cultures. We're always doing, we've employed this program called the Positive Behavior Instructional Support Team.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to make the school culture better. I think we could do better. I think that we could...
What would be one thing that you would advocate, Jill, that could be better? I mean, a tangible best practice.
I think it would just be best practice to talk to everyone with respect all the time. Parents to teachers, students to teachers, administration to teachers, teachers to parents. I just think that we need to bring back the respect of going to school. I think with the TikTok culture and the social media that a lot of, that has taken over our world, we have forgotten about basic respect. Respect for the common interaction in the hallway. So I just think we need to bring respect back for everybody, going in all directions.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I was going to just go off of what you said. I went to Collegiate Academy back in 2014. I graduated. So that pride, honor, respect is something I always feel like I brought with me, not just being in the Erie School District my entire life and then working here as a teacher. That kind of was a full circle. But also the fact is it's learned. They won't know, some of these kids, how to treat others with pride, honor, and respect unless we teach them. Unfortunately, teachers have that job every day, not just teaching math, teaching language arts, teaching science, social studies, but we have to teach them how to have pride in themselves, but also be respectful to one another. We have to show them how to honor their classmates, their items, like taking care of things. It's a whole thing that it has to be taught every day. And it has to be a reminder of in the back of your head, let's make sure that we treat each other with respect, that we're ready for class, that we're responsible with our belongings. And I know at East, that's what we call the 3 R's, ready, respectful, and responsible, and making sure that's a reminder in their heads every single day, every single minute.
I mean, we're really asking teachers a lot. We're asking of teachers a lot of basically setting, setting basic societal norms for an entire generation. And our point is not to, put collegiate on a pedestal, but I did see where you benefit when there's a culture there. You get to do things. You get to have a relaxed study hall, or hang out with your friends at King TV, or what. You know what I mean? You when there's respect both ways, everybody benefits from that element. And I'm wonderful to hear that it's happening at East, and I'm sure it's happening at the other schools. We've just got a few minutes left with our educators from the EEA here. What am I missing? Again, I'm a grandparent now. My kids went through Erie Public Schools, and they were able to launch into successful careers. But generations change. Maybe we should finish with best practices with the use of technology at home and at school. Why don't you jump in on that, Carrie? Put the phones down, right? I mean, how many of your kids at SV have a phone, have a smartphone? Is it most of them?
Most of them.
Okay. Does it drive you nuts, or do we have some rules that we're able to follow?
I know in most of my classrooms, as long as the teacher doesn't see it, we don't care. As long as it's not in sight, it's not like we can't hear it.
Okay.
It's fine. But I know I can't speak for all schools, but I know some schools have the policy where it has to be in their locker. Mm-hmm. So it just depends. I know our district is looking into data on cell phones and seeing how they play a part in their education. I know a lot of our kids also have Chromebooks, too, that we use in the classrooms. So technology is at their hands 24/7.
And it could be used for good, or
yes.
for bad. How about you, Kathrine? Technology?
So I think definitely with a lot of kids, it's become like a trend. I've heard a lot of my kids saying lately, they're like, "Oh, she's gonna crash out," and it's this thing on TikTok, Instagram, whatever the real type of content that you get, where teachers are like screaming at they're like super upset. They're basically burnt out teachers filming themselves or getting filmed by students and getting posted online, right? Of like, this is my last day type of thing. And the kids have found it funny. And they, if a teacher is disciplining a kid in the classroom and saying like, hey, you can't say those types of things. This isn't the expectation in the classroom. We're supposed to be respectful, responsible, and ready. I'll always hear in the background, oh, she's about to crash out. Oh, she's about to crash out. And then they start giggling, and then someone will say something else.
Yeah.
And so I think that kids being exposed to a lot of content that isn't necessarily age appropriate, or that they can't comprehend the emotions behind that content, I think it's leading to some problems in the classroom. Yeah. And I just wish my kids would do something other than be on their phone or be on their Chromebook. That's my I wish. So yeah.
We got to bring this plane in for a landing. Mary, again, successfully negotiated an early bird contract, trying to stem the tide of teacher retirements here. Not begging, but hey, parents, jump in, be a part. Yeah. Join your community school. What am I missing?
Well, nothing really. I mean, from here. Again, parents also. We've got 2 working parents in every family.
Yeah, sure.
They're not together. The nuclear family's gone. COVID did horrible things because it took the support systems that these kids had too. I mean, most of them had their grandparents watching them already.
Right.
And, they may have had, an issue where they didn't survive their COVID. So, I mean, you had a lot of grief loss. They weren't connected with a solid adult. They've got grieving parents at home. They're grieving, and they were deprived of that anchor. And that's really what we are, is we can be an anchor for these kids during, the school year. It's just one more resource that they have and that they can trust.
Yeah.
So, and then, to me, that was the hardest part about COVID, is coming back and, putting these kids back together. that was the hardest part of my job. Moving forward, I think with the district and with the open communication that we're engaged in right now for the betterment of our success rate.
Yeah.
I believe that, so long as we keep those talks open and running, I think that, parents are going to start, being, hey, it really isn't about, us against them. It's,
Right.
And teachers will say, well, it's really not about us, against them. It's really all of us, trying to work collaboratively together for a common goal, which is to make sure that our little people, reach their potential and become productive kids.
And you guys are rooting for those metrics to grow, right? I mean, we're celebrating those short-term wins, right? I mean, it's key that we come back. I mean, the idea of graduation rates improving at Erie High and all the things, but we got to wrap it up. It is 4:58. I want to say thank you to Mary, Marcus, Jill, Carrie, Kathrine, and Jessica from the Erie Education Association. Of course, Marcus is from PSEA. Thank you for your candor and for your service to our children here in the city of Erie. And go get them. I mean, it's fantastic.
Get it.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.